guys, today I am propagating Mexican mint marigold for the first time. You might know it as Texas Tarragon or Mexican mint or sweet scented marigold. I got a little bit of information from a friend of mine who owns a local nursery, Cedar Creek Plants. My friend Jenny over there was giving me some information on how they propagate their Mexican mint marigold. So I'm following some of her guidelines a little bit, but I'm noticing that on this particular plant, this is a plant that hasn't flowered out yet, some of them already have roots shooting out. Look at this long root. So that kind of saves me the trouble of going through the stresses of propagating this piece. So this is a really great piece to start out with. Now the directions that she gave me were to cut about 4 to 5 inch pieces and cut off the tops. I'm not going to do that for these pieces because they already have roots. So I'm just going to see how they do without me cutting off the top, because I think this root is long enough to supply this plant with plenty of food and water. I've got a pot of soil over there that I've filled up with just some stay green soil from Lowe's, and it's already moist because it's been raining all week here. So we've got some good rainwater in this pot. And I'm just going to make a nice big hole, and I'm going to be really careful not to break that little root off, because that's a really nice start. But even if it did break off, I'm sure it would be fine in this pot. Now, I've never propagated marigold before, but I've propagated many other plants. So I'm excited to see how these do. Obviously, it looks like they're going to root fairly easily, so I'm really excited. I really, really love this Mexican mint tarragon. Here's another one that already has a root shooting off. Awesome. I love seeing that. This is one of my favorite plants in my garden because it smells so good. It has a very sweet licorice sort of smell. A lot of people compare it to anise or a French tarragon. You can use this plant in teas and chocolate, candies, lotions, soaps. I have lots of plans for drying a lot of this out at the end of the season to put in my soaps. I'm trying to learn how to make some homemade soap, so when I finally get around to learning, I'll make sure to do a video on that. But yeah, so I'm going to take quite a few cuttings and I'm going to put them all in the same pot, because usually when people start this type of plant from seed, this Mexican mint, they usually put several seeds in one pot. Otherwise, you end up with one gangly long plant. So what you're seeing here, this large plant to the right and the large plant to the left, those were already started. I bought them as plants already, and those were started by using several seeds. Now, I have plants that I planted last year that are humongous, and I've seed saved from those, and I got thousands of seeds, and I've even gotten some free volunteers from those plants because they dropped seeds onto the ground, and I'll show you those plants at near the end of this video. These two plants I actually got at a sale at the Arboretum here in East Texas, and they were really cheap and they were really good sized established plants, and I figured, oh well, since I love them so much, I might as well just get these and put them in a different area of my vegetable garden. So that's why I got them, even though I already have several of these plants. You just can never have enough, really. So if you've never tried this plant, you guys really ought to try it. What I'm doing now is I'm just picking off some of the leaves that are going to end up being underneath the soil. And I just do that because I don't want the leaves to rot in the soil and attract bugs that I don't want in the plant. But you can leave them in. I'm sure they would be fine, but I'm just picking them off so I could stick them in the soil. So I'm taking a few other cuttings. I want to fill this pot up so I have a nice size plant here. And I'm not cutting them all the way at the base, like all the way to the ground, but I'm cutting them a few inches from the ground. This plant will die off in the wintertime completely, and then you can cut it back or you can leave the dead stems on until they start to leaf out again in the spring. But they do start to leaf out again in early spring, and they're kind of a slow grower until it gets fairly warm outside, and they just shoot off, and it's insane, and you would just never imagine that they would get this big, but they get really big. This is a nice size piece here, and this one doesn't look like it has any roots, so I'm going to stick it in the pot anyway, and we'll see which of these stems end up taking in this pot. I have a feeling that all of them will take, because I've just never had a problem propagating anything really, but again, this is my first time actually propagating any type of marigold. So this plant blooms in the fall, sort of mid-fall until the first frost. And it gets these really, really tiny marigold looking flowers that are yellow and super prolific. It gets tons of them and it smells so good. On our property, we have 5 acres, and when I had 4 of these planted last year, it made our entire property smell like sweet, sweet licorice. And I just loved it so much that I just couldn't get enough of it. And I pretty much almost every day will walk back to that garden and run my hands through the plant just so I could smell that tarragon smell. Right, so I'm putting these all in the pot, and I think I'm almost good, maybe satisfied. All right, I've got a nice sized plant going here. Just make sure when you put those stems in that you pack that soil nice and tight around the base so that you're not trapping any air in there. But I'm pretty happy with this. This is going to be a good sized plant. Now I thought I'd be a little excessive and plant some directly into the bed and see what happens, because again, you can never have enough of this plant. I really wouldn't mind if this just took over everywhere. I love it that much. So I've just taken some cuttings the same way I did for the pot, and I'm just sticking them right into my garden bed. And I'll make sure to do an update on this to see which ones did well, if both did well, if any of them died off. I'm probably going to neglect them, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. I've heard from my friend Jenny that if you just leave them alone and you wait for them to dry out before you water them again, they do better. So I'm gonna try not to water this too much, but again, I'm leaving these outside and we're getting a lot of rain right now, especially this coming week. So they might not do well. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll make sure to do an update. So here are my tarragon plants that I have in another bed in the back of my property, sort of. Now these look small on video for some reason, but they are huge. They're a few feet tall and wide. And you see how thick they are. They're about to go into bloom. This is a volunteer that came up from seed from last year. And that one started growing late fall, early winter possibly. And there's some more volunteers that came up over here. So you can see they get a good size in their first year. They're definitely going to bloom in their first year. I'm just kind of showing you how thick the plants are and the other little plants. These are the little buds that will turn into those little yellow marigold flowers here pretty soon. So I'm excited about that. Going to collect more seed, even though I have thousands of seeds right now from last year. Again, I just can't get enough of this plant. So yeah, and I plant these are planted in pretty much full shade. I find they do better in shade. Here's my Vitex tree, or one of them. I love the blooms on these. And here's my guinea. She has snuck back here. She went missing for a few days, and we found out that she was back here sitting on a clutch of eggs. Rain or shine, she's on those eggs, so she's pretty determined. And bonus video, just a shot of my morning glories that I've got growing up this fence. I seed started these in the spring, and I think I planted about 4 seeds, and I wanted them to climb up this fence and create some shade in my garden, and I just really love marigolds. I think they're pretty. I know a lot of people hate them and think they're invasive, but I just love them. I can't get enough of them. Next year, I'm going to be planting a bunch of hyacinth bean. All right, that concludes my video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. I'm trying to upload a video every single day. We'll see how that goes. But again, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.